What up, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome to the Arrowhead Kingdom CHIEFScast show. Big reminder that all Chiefs fans are invited to join us for game day. Visit arrowheadkingdom.org to learn more about the group and to find your local chapter. And also, thanks for watching this, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. That will help others find us. We are, as always, presented by Complete Weddings and Events, your leading provider of photo, video, DJ, photo booth, lighting, and day of coordination services. Visit them at completewedo.com. All right, Brian, we are back after a bit of a break.
We are back, baby. We are back
this year, and
football.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and we have a new face with us. So let's introduce the world to the one and only Dwayne O. Johnson. Dwayne, tell us about yourself.
Hey, what's happening, Chiefs Nation? For you guys that don't know me, I am a proud member of Chiefs Kingdom and also the older brother of Chiefs all-time leading tackler, Derek Johnson. That's right. So you have a Johnson in the house, and I am very, very excited to be upon this Zoom and a part of this group this whole season. I am excited about Chiefs football, and hey, I can't wait to chop it up with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited too, and Brian and I are both KU fans, and you got us hooking the horns, for
No, we got to keep the horns up. We got to keep them up.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep them up. That's good. But no, that's we're so happy to have you on here. So let's get into the first topic that we have. I think this is the biggest topic in all of the Chiefs world, and that's Chris Johnson. He's holding out for a contract.
Chris Jones.
What?
Hey,
okay,
Johnson, Jones. It all.
All the Johnsons right now.
This is preseason football. Yeah, this is definitely preseason Josh right here. We got the cobwebs out. Not regular season yet.
There we go.
Like,
all right, got it. But no, for real, Chris Jones, his holdout is the number one thing. So just to get everybody up to speed, he's got 1 year left on his deal. It's at $20 million. That puts him out of the top 10, I believe, for anybody that sacks the quarterback more than once a season. So it's understandable why he's looking for more money. Aaron Donald is the top paid defensive tackle. He makes about $33 million a year. Chris Jones has made it clear that he wants to be in the top two. So we have a number there. All the rumors are saying about $30 million a year is what he's looking for a long-term contract extension. Dwayne, do you have anything else to add to that? Like what
well, my thoughts with Chris Jones is definitely Brett Veach has a pattern called the next man up, and I'm with Chris Jones getting his money, but I just don't think he's going to get it in Kansas City. I think Chris Jones will play his last season in Kansas City, but I think he's going to help us get to Vegas for Super Bowl 58 to run it back. And after that, I believe he's going to make a very ridiculous offer of money elsewhere, but I do not think it's going to be in Kansas City. And I think it's part of Chris Jones' strategy. I don't think that he's trying to get away this season. I do feel like we will have him this season, but Chris Jones would definitely, he's auditioning for other teams. And hey, he's been with us since 2016. So what's the worst? He's helped us in 3 Super Bowls. He helped us get 2 Super Bowls, and he could possibly help us get a 3rd Super Bowl. So I feel like his draft pick from 2016 as a 2nd round draft pick has definitely paid off. He's been paid 2 contracts, and that's pretty much how Brett Veach does. He did the same thing with my brother Derek Johnson. He wanted to play his last year in 2018 in Kansas City, and he moved on and went with the next man up, Ben Neiman. And I personally was a little upset at that particular move, because I felt like, well, golly, let him play his last year there, man. He's been there since 2005. But the only people who I feel would be able to get 3 or more contracts in Kansas City is Mahomes or Kelsey, and that's it. I mean, everybody else is next man up, and it's a very unique system that Brett Veach is doing. And so I see the method of the madness, and I'm a huge fan of Chris Jones, but I feel like this is Chris Jones' auditioning year to break the bank elsewhere, and it's going to pay off for us. It's going to actually make us a very, very deep threat in defense this year, and we'll definitely be a top 5 defense.
Okay, well, okay, so a lot of stuff there. I want to pry on a couple of things. First and foremost, so you've had a front row seat to what these negotiations look like before.
Yes,
and maybe not the front row, but you were definitely in the car.
Yes.
So I guess what tell us as much as you can, like, about that. So was this a situation that was pure business? What was Derek's thought process going through all this? Was he surprised? Was he disappointed?
Derek's thought process, he was very disappointed, because Derek his thought process in 2018, he was willing to play his last season on a vet minimum deal, just because he didn't want to play for anybody else. And that's why when John Gruden picked him up for the Raiders, he asked him, let me out my contract. And he basically retired that October. After playing 1 month for them, he was like, shit, I can't be here. This doesn't feel right. I'm a Chiefs. And he felt like he was letting the fans down. And he was like, he's an all heart kind of player. So he felt like, I can't do this, man. And, he went to the management and said, listen, thank y'all, but this is not it for me. Just release me and forget about it. I quit. I retire.
So how did John Gruden react to that? That's wild.
John Gruden begged him, because John Gruden was a fan of his. So he was like, well, at least play out the remainder of the year. And Derek said he just couldn't do it. His heart wasn't in it. And he said that he couldn't see himself going back into Arrowhead, a place that he helped build. And he's like, I can't go back there and play against those guys. Those guys are like my little brothers. They're like my nephews. They're like family to me. And that's not gonna feel right. I can't get that same up to go after those guys, So he refused to do it. And that's why you never had a Derek Johnson reunion in Arrowhead in another team. And then now he's a retired player as a Chiefs, and he's all Chiefs everything. He's an ambassador, and the Hunt family brings him up for games, and him and Jamal Charles, and those guys, they want the public to forget that they played for the opposite team. Jamal says, I don't want the public to know that I played for Denver. And Derek's like, yeah, I hope they don't remind me of that 1 month that I played for Oakland. I said, well, I think for you, Derek, they forgave you for that. But I said, Jamal, you might have to do a little more kissing up, man. You said something in the paper that didn't go too well, that sounded like you were a fan of the Broncos,
Mm-hmm. Hey, to bring it back to Chris Jones for a second,
let's bring it back.
I inspired, this whole dialogue got me inspired about this question. Then sounds like a lot of things going on, a lot of like factors of like motivations. Was it money versus desire versus, as you said, Dwayne, that sounds like if you're Chris Jones, if I'm getting inside the mindset of Chris Jones, I'm trying to I can't read his mind, obviously, but it sounds like you think auditioning for next season to get the big payday. So he's going to do a really good job this year. If we can get as good a production as last year, this year's we did last year, which would be amazing. Then that is the next step for what his next move would be. Like, okay, my audition year for the next team. Obviously, would love to keep him around if we can. But you said like the three contract situation probably not going to happen for Chris Jones. But he's so amazing, so talented. The amount of like I was watching some videos today of the running backs interviewed playing against him, and all the running backs just shaking their head like it's the worst. Trying to get around Chris Jones is just a terrible situation. He's just everywhere. He's got complete defensive player. And so So I'm just trying to get when I wrap my head around like Chris Jones, like what is his motivation? I don't know if he articulated what that is exactly. If he's in this situation, does he want, like you're talking about, does he want to remain a chief? If that is the case, then that's more, I guess, of the Brett Veach's court, right? Or like the management team. It's like,
well, Chris, that's funny that you said it, because Chris Jones, he works out with Derek in the summer. They're actually personal friends. Derek calls him his little brother, him and Nick Bolton. He's real close to those two, right? And Chris wants to play his whole career in Kansas City, but he wants his cake and he wants to eat it too. So he basically, the money that Chris wants is,
he's earned
you
it.
know,
I mean, he's earned it. He deserves that money.
he deserves it, but I'm kind of leaning to way Brett Veach is thinking. Like, well, if I do that, then you're going to hurt me in these other areas. And what Brett Veach is doing is working, because he's already drafted Chris Jones's replacement. It's a kid that came out of Texas. His name is DeAndre Keandre Corbin, number 99. He's a 6th-round draft pick, but he's the steal of the draft. He's a defensive tackle. Yes,
Andre Coburn.
that guy is a monster. I watched him play at Texas, and he's a kid from Houston. That guy is every bit in potential. He's the next Chris Jones. And when I saw that move, I was like, that move told me, like, I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing, Brett. You're gonna let Corbin rotate a year under Chris Jones, learn, and then once Chris gets away and get the big bucks, maybe somewhere in Dallas or New Orleans, some team that's thirsty like that, that's like, yeah, I'll pay him, you know. Then Corbin would be ready. But Corbin is a very, very like steal of a deal draft pick. Like I damn near went crazy when they drafted him, because I didn't think that guy was gonna fall that low. I was like, how the hell did he fall to round 6?
Yeah.
Like if you look at his stats in college, that's a 1st-round draft pick defensive tackle. I just don't see how that happened, you know?
Yeah, and he didn't have any character or injury concerns either, because I remember looking at him, and I definitely remember you being excited about this. I mean, I've kind of followed your commentary on social media for a long time, and I know that you're a Texas guy and you follow those players, and you're totally into them. But the Coburn, I mean, it was just completely objectively, you know, you watch this guy and he's good, and it's crazy how far he fell. But I mean, it just kind of goes to what the premium on certain positions is. You know, if he was an edge rusher, he wouldn't have fallen. If he was an outside linebacker that could, you know, get to the quarterback from time to time, he probably wouldn't have fallen. But you just see all these steals that are interior linemen and interior defensive offensive linemen that just fall farther than a logic would dictate. But so you basically saw that coming from the second that Coburn was taken in the sixth round.
Absolutely. And I was like, wow. But you know, with Chris Jones, now here's another thing that Pat and Kelsey did so that Chris can get extended 2 more years. They took less. They was like, hey, take some of my money back. Take some of my money back, because he's our guy. We like him. We want to keep him. We want to keep him around. And Kelsey is an amazing guy, and he's real good friends with Derek. Derek is kind of friends with Mahomes, but it's an age difference. But I'm friends with Mahomes' dad, man. Me and
Sure.
Big Pat, we talk all the time, man. You know, that's my guy. That's my guy. But you know, that's the extent to it. And so my hopes, and I'm segueing into this, guys. I hope that he gets the 2-year extension, because I really think Chris Jones would take a 2-year extension, which would extend him into
So you think he would take 2 years? Okay, because that was going to be my next thing. You seem pretty pretty convinced that there's absolutely 0% chance that this can get worked out. I don't completely share that sentiment, and I was hoping that wasn't a completely crazy thought process, but pulling something up here. So yeah, I'm hoping that there's a possibility that Jones stays. The way the media has portrayed this, he wants 30 a year, he wants 75% of it guaranteed, and he wants a 5-year deal.
And see, I don't think that's going to happen for him in Kansas.
I don't think there's any way that's possible. I mean, so what I've been doing here, I pulled up the over the cap numbers for the following season for 2024 to look at who would theoretically throw that kind of money at him. So the Patriots are slated to have about 107 million, the Bears 85 million, the Commanders 80 million, the Houston Texans 76 million, the Titans 75, the Colts 70. So I guess here's the biggest question. He plays out this year and he's looking for the max amount of money. I expect he's probably looking to beat that Aaron Donald contract in that situation. So which of those teams do you want to go play for? You know, playing for Belichick sounds good, but I don't see Bill Belichick giving somebody a 5-year, $35 million a year contract.
Absolutely not.
The Bears would do that today if we'd let them.
They would.
And the Bears have 30 million right now. So I mean, they'd have to have space if they were going to do it. They have 23 a dead cap. The Panthers are a team that I guess could get interesting. They're sitting at 45. So, I mean, I think he's going to have no shortage of suitors if that comes up. But if it's a potential where a 2-year extension could get it done at 30 million a year, that seems pretty slam dunk to me. I mean, I'm by no means a cap specialist, and I'm kind of with you. I like Veach's mentality. You can't sit there and pay everybody. The only people I would add outside of Kelsey and Mahomes that I think get the third contract, Creed Humphrey, I think is the guy that's going to get a blank check.
Yes.
I think that the offensive line is going to be the place that Veach throws money, because Kelsey's leaving a ton on the table. Kelsey could go out and double his salary tomorrow if he left the team, but he's a guy that's thinking forward. I mean, I bring this up all the time. I think the greatest thing that Tom Brady ever did was never screw the Patriots cap.
Right.
And that's in addition to being a 7-time Super Bowl winner, and a lot of those are because of him. You know, he never did, you know, what Jones is doing. And you know, I see a lot of other people like us who are, you know, fans that are giving our take on it. They're just, you know, give him his money, quit asking questions. And that sounds simple until you remember this is a hard cap league. And
yes, it is.
It's a hard cap league. You cannot go over. This isn't a thing where we can just be the New York Mets and all of a sudden decide to spend $364 million on payroll when the rest of the league is spending under 200. It just, you don't get to do that. If that was the case, the Dallas Cowboys would win every year because they'd outspend everybody.
I mean, it's got
Yankees in the late 90s.
Keys to defense, right? What are the keys? I was looking at the keys of defense for the repeat what we did last year, and I'm trying to figure out how Chris Jones will work out in that. I was looking at the forced fumbles and our interceptions, and we're kind of middle of the pack or lower middle of the pack of those kinds of things. So anything we can do to make that stuff happen more, but nothing will ever make me more excited than those couple of sacks we had on Burrow at the AFC Championship game when I was seeing Chris Jones be a part of that. So it's like to see him go anywhere else would be a heartbreak, and I would hate to watch it. Obviously, I understand business and we got to make it happen, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, what more can we say other than just hopefully it works out for the best and we get to see another couple of years of Chris Jones in Chiefs uniform.
Yeah, so I guess before we move on from this one, Dwayne, what's the contract that you could see happening that you'd be comfortable with? You can picture Veach giving that Jones would, you know, hopefully take. What do you think is the top end?
I think with him wanting 30 million a year, I think that Veach needs to go to Jones and say, hey, man, 30 is a little steep. If we give you a third contract, a 4-year contract, would you take 10 million less, since Pat's taking 10 million less and Kelsey is taking 10, and these guys really want you to be a part of the team, and I know you want to be a part of the team. Would you would you be willing to take 20 million all guaranteed for 4 years, and then that would put an 80 million extension, and see if he bites on it? And if he doesn't bite on it, then if you're Brett Veach, then I start looking at teams like you mentioned, Chicago, that can pay him the 30 million. Okay, Chicago, what are you willing to give us? We don't want your players, but we want your first round draft pick. Are you willing to give us 2 first round draft picks? One in 2024, along with the third, and one in 2025, along with the fourth, and see if they bite on it. And a desperate Chicago team just might say, hell yeah, we'll bite, you know?
Yeah, and that would probably be a top 10 pick next year. The Bears are going to suck.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, the Bears are going to suck.
They are. They really are. And so they're desperate for that defensive tackle. And, you know, that way, if I was Brett Veach, and when the media got in my face, I say, hey, you know, the guy did what was best for him. I wouldn't slam him. I'd be like, he did what worked for him, what benefited him and his family. But this was the offer that we felt at this time that we could pay him. And obviously Mahomes took a cut, Kelsey took a cut, but for this particular reasons, for whatever reasons, he wasn't comfortable with that amount, and I'm good with it. He'll always be a Kansas City Chief, and when he goes into the Hall of Fame, he's coming in as a Chief, whether he does anything in Chicago or Carolina or any of those other teams that would be desperate to give up. And I think that would be another win for Kansas City, because if, like you said, the Chicago Bears are going to probably suck again, and if they're a top 10 pick, well, now you have 2 first-round picks in 24 and 2 first-round picks in 25, and Veach has shown that he's an excellent draft person. He works the draft great. Him and Andy Reid, and Andy Reid has a big play in that draft as well, because Andy Reid is telling him, no, this guy will fit the system. And Andy historically has always been able to draft very good, from Philadelphia even to Kansas City. He knows how to pick the guys that people secretly pass on. He knows how to, I'm picking that guy. Watch this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brian, what would be the top end contract you'd offer if you were sitting for Veach?
I think that nails it. Just as long as you see how many penalty fees he's racked up for missing summer camp. So
it's like $600,000 at this point. Yeah.
Can we also waive those, please, while we're at it?
By rule, they can't.
Really?
They can't.
No, they can't.
They can't.
So they he's stuck with that. So he's already losing. And that's why some people are like, well, that would be insane for him to hold out and take less. But is it really insane if that's where you want to play? And honestly, and I know this sounds Spanish of me to say this, but okay, you're already rich. You have money. Mm-hmm. And I know you want 30, but 20 million is not a small person either, you know?
Yeah. I always think about, here's what I always think about. Like, I really, the more I watch this kind of world, and the more what's the stuff behind it, like 20 million. And then after taxes, we're talking about maybe 12, then the fees of his agents and the managers and all these things come in. Maybe he's walking home, he's pocketing what, 9, 10, I don't know. If someone has, but let's just say it's 10. And now he's, what, how old is he? 29, 30, something like that, or something around?
I think he's 29. Yeah, because he was drafted in 2016, and I think he was 22 then. No, hey,
he's 29. Shit. Yeah, no, he's 29.
All right. Yeah. One thing, $10 million. I know it's a lot of money, but 60 years is a long time. And we got like that money, 10 million. Like, we can't just, if I don't know what kind of life, if he's living like if an expensive world that we live in, we gotta make that money last. And he's thinking to himself, like an extra $10 million. I'm 29, so 80. Let's say 89, 60 years. I've got to make that last, and it's got to work for me, and that's got to grow, and I have to be able to do that. Obviously, $9 million, $10 million on top of what he has already. So I assume he's been he's been out there for a while now. And let's just assume everything's going well. But I'm like, I always think the lifetime journey of that much money as a 30-year-old, soon to be 30-year-old, that's a long time. We got to make that work. So that's why I'm like, yeah, get as much as you can. If obviously, where's your loyalty? Like, what do you want? Do you want to play here and wear the uniform, or go get paid like a Tyreek Hill situation where he's making a few $1,000,000, goes to Miami, makes $20 million? Like, oh, I get it. I get it. You're probably the fastest guy out there and you're gonna get paid, and you're out there getting, and you also factor in, like, it's a violent game. People get hurt all the time. Oh my gosh, we gotta get paid while we can get paid. So yeah, $600,000 though, he has to pay that. So I guess the contract stipulation is whatever the bottom line is plus 600,000, please, to cover that fee. That'd be great.
Yeah.
The perspective I try to keep, because a big part of me just says $20 million is a lot of money. But I have to look in the mirror and know how many times I've left a job for not that amount of money, but just to be in a better situation. And work's work. So I don't know that I necessarily have left anywhere that I just loved and couldn't not be. It's not a situation where I played for the Chiefs, but I have to keep that. I have to keep that in perspective. But at the same time, I also think, Patrick Mahomes has a level of we'll call this ability to take less right now, knowing that he's got future revenue in front of him. That guy can work for any network that he wants to.
A lot of Whataburgers up there. A lot of Whataburgers.
Travis Kelce has something similar. Tom Brady's getting a $30 million contract for that. He and Mahomes are the same guy as far as I'm concerned.
They are. Mahomes is the new Brady. That is exactly right.
They have that. But if Chris Jones doesn't have any kind of profile for any kind of work after this, what is he going to do? Go run a bunch of car dealerships like John Elway did? Do a couple of DirecTV commercials and stuff. The thing for Jones that I have to feel for him on is that the second that guy retires, he's forgotten within 24 months after he retires, except for people that are huge football fans. You're never getting away from Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady.
No.
So they have an ability. Patrick Mahomes taking 10 million less when he's probably going to make that all up in profits from his Whataburger in the course of 2 years. He has the ability to say this doesn't matter. And he also has this luxury of his dad, who's been around this block 15 different times, to say,
right,
here's the stuff you need to be thinking about. Here's the stuff you don't. So I feel for Jones. I feel for the fans. I pretty much align with you. I've been talking for about a month in my weekly column I write for Arrowhead One about how every day that this goes, I feel it starts to feel more and more like Tyreek Hill, where the dollar amount is going to be an untenable thing. Me personally, if he gets into the 28 million a year, and even if it's something like 28, 30, 32 over the next 3 years, and you guarantee about 50 of it, I'd be comfortable with that. I'd feel good about the cap gymnastics the team would have to do. But it's just one of those deals where anytime you have more than 2 players that are making up somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25% of the cap. I live in Wisconsin. I see what the Aaron Rodgers contract did to the Packers. I see what that did to fan attitude. I see what that did to the cap every single year. And there's only so many of those, and you can't just sit there and say there's plenty of money to pay this guy and it works itself out. It's a hard cap. This doesn't work itself out. This is hard and fast money, and Veach has to make big boy decisions. And I hope he doesn't get to a point where he treats all these guys as too disposable, because that can bite you. But if they're going to keep evaluating talent at the level that they are, I think that they've earned the right to put a hard stake in the ground on a dollar number and to get to a point where it's a take it or leave it. And that's what it feels like with Chris Jones. So I personally think that there's a 25% chance he stays, and we'll amortize that a percentage a day until it goes away.
If he ever sells health insurance, I'll buy it from him. Like Lynn Elliott, and Lynn Elliott sells insurance. I think he makes more money selling insurance than he did kicking.
Really?
Yeah, that's and I worked in mortgage sales and a number of sales, like collegiate athletes who maybe weren't good enough to get to the next level, but they live in the area where they're beloved. And people, it's like, oh yeah, I bought my home from the point guard for the Jayhawks So I get my insurance from the kicker from from the 96 team. I'm like, oh, that's a marketing play. You can do that. Yeah, that's a way to make yourself stand out. But like I think Lynn Elliott does pretty well.
So I'm gonna ask a mean question. Where does Lynn Elliott live that people love him?
I think
I know
he lives
Kansas City.
I think he lives in Dallas. Well, no, does he live in Kansas City or where he or in Dallas?
I don't know. I was just on LinkedIn and I was wondering where he was at, what he was up to, because I was pulling the thread of like, I wonder what these
Texas
like
Farm
famous
Bureau insurance companies.
Farm Bureau
Yeah.
insurance. Yeah, I'm like, I bet you he makes some money. I think it's pretty decent money because insurance people, they can pull in hundreds. I've known dudes to make millions doing that stuff. But if you're famous, you have a famous name, you can do pretty well doing that thing. So if Chris Jones gets into selling health insurance, I'll totally buy it from him.
Okay, so Lynn Elliott is on LinkedIn. You can totally just join his profile. Yeah, he lives in Waco. So he's selling insurance to all those Baylor type folks.
And that's crazy
there's money
because
there.
Lynn Elliott's from my hometown, and he went to my high school. We all came out of Waco High, and I think Lynn Elliott went to Jefferson Moore before it was Waco High consolidated. But my old football coach coached him, and Lynn Elliott, I think he played at Texas Tech or something.
Yep, he did. So he went to Waco High School where he played soccer and football. Then he walked on at Texas Tech. And then the rest is kind of history. Yeah. I played for the Cowboys and the Chiefs and the Vikings. And yeah, I mean, for all rights and purposes, he had a short career. Won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, there's I'm just saying there's paths that are not media related or Whataburger. So you can also sell insurance for State Farm.
Exactly. Yeah, why not? He need to sell the Patrick Price, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Chris Jones doing that. Hey, get the Patrick Price.
There you go.
I like it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're all pretty aligned on the Chris Jones things. We're hopeful, but we're cautious about all of this. And I think fans are in the what might be some of the stages of grief at this point. And anybody who's saying just pay the guy is probably in the denial part. Let's just be honest here. So that's a preview of the column that I hope I don't have to write, but what I've been kind of mentally preparing myself for is, the Chris Jones farewell and so forth. I hope I'm wrong, but, it feels that way too much. And, knowing that he wants to be there gives me, hope from that.
Me too. That hope. I'm with you with the 25% because it's that 25% is that hope, like, okay, come on, Chris, let's work something out, but if he doesn't and he is traded, I, for one, will always be a Chris Jones fan, and I would never down him for doing what's best for him, because I know that he's done enough to be a Chiefs great. And when he retires, he's going to be Kingdom City Chiefs all day long. So that's that's understandable. Even with Tyreek Hill, a lot of the fan base, a lot of the Kingdom is mad at him because he's really trying to play this antagonist role, but he's not going to win nothing in Miami because Tua's health, not because Tua's not good. It's the health. It's the health of Tua. And plus, the guy says he's going to retire after 2025 because he wants to get into acting and some other things. And once he steps away from the game, he's going to realize the game that made him was the Kingdom City Chiefs, and he'll be back and he'll be on our sidelines. Woo! Look at Tyreek Hill, cheetahs on the sidelines, and we'll forgive him. We'll forgive him, and we'll be like, come on in, man. So it's, I tell a lot of fans, I say, y'all don't take Tyreek that serious when he's talking that stuff.
Tyreek Hill doesn't take Tyreek Hill seriously.
Exactly.
And that's it. I mean, I've never been mad at him because I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to get clicks on a podcast and he's being antagonistic, but at the same time, he's also talking his guy up. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And, Tyreek Hill's a Hall of Famer. You know, I think
Yes,
he
he
gets
is.
in. I think he gets in today if he never plays another down. But he's too.
Absolutely.
He's I actually wrote a thing. This is my column last week for Arrowhead One. I did all the math from Pro Football Reference. They have a Hall of Fame tracker, and they essentially say if you get to 80 points, you should make it into the Hall of Fame. If you get to 100, you should get in fairly quickly. If you get to 120, it should be fast. If you get to 150, you're first ballot. Tyreek's sitting at 70. And just based on his career numbers, all pros, everything like that, if he retired today, he gets a 25-point bonus for making all pro first team in over a third of his seasons. So I mean, it's there.
It is.
The numbers are there. But if he manages to accumulate 18 touchdowns and 3,000 yards is what I put it on, which is, you know, playing 2-3 more seasons, you know, he's over the 100 points. And that's if he never gets another Pro Bowl nod. That's if he never gets another All Pro nod, any of that stuff. So I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He'll be in the Chiefs Ring of Honor. Side question that I didn't put out before: is there anybody going into the Ring of Honor before your brother?
The only person I can see going in before him is Jamal Charles. But I think I have a funny feeling that both of them will go in together, because they both got honored and retired as a chief around the same time. And I noticed that Andy likes to bring them around the same time. And they're real good friends in real life. You know, they're neighbors in Austin, Texas, right? They live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. They live right down the street. And Jamal is such a cool guy, such a cool guy, you know.
Nice.
Him and Derek, they become quite the buddies. You know, they're both Texas Longhorns, and they're Chiefs, and those guys hang out like family. You know.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff that you want to hear. I mean, those are the stories that you want to be true in real life. I mean, you know, just coming from a fan perspective, you know, knowing Derek Johnson never wanted to leave and it didn't feel right playing in Raiders gear. I mean, that sucks. His career ended, unfortunately. It wasn't fun to watch in real life, you know, the way the whole thing happened in real time. But knowing that his heart was always in Kansas City, I mean, that's what you want to hear. You know, it's just, it makes you feel good hearing that, and knowing that he and Jamal Charles are friends. I mean, that's a cool story, you know.
Yeah. Real cool story. And they're crazy about the Chiefs. Look, they host Chiefs parties in Austin at their houses and stuff, and I've gone down there, and it's some of the most kick-ass parties ever, because, you know, they have their buddies that have gone to other teams out of Texas, and they're just trashing them. They have Vince Young over there, and Michael Huff, and all those people. And I mean, they're just trashing the hell out of them. You know, it's such fun, man. You know, I told myself I'm gonna go live one day over there just this season, just to, you know, show people the inside of how it is. You know.
That's
I want to see that. I want to see that for sure. Go live over there.
Yeah.
Walk around and get some commentary. I want to see that for sure.
Yeah. So we have a channel that you can put that on. You can throw any of that stuff up here anytime.
I can find an audience for that.
I am definitely with it, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to this season, and I'm looking forward to, you know, us talking and breaking this stuff down week by week, man. This is gonna be a whole lot of this is gonna be a great one.
Yeah, hell yeah. And we're gonna get a TikTok channel going, so we have some shorts going, and so we definitely have space for all of that. But yeah, so let's move on from Chris Jones and talk about the wide receiver room. So, you know, tons of I won't necessarily call it movement. We'll call this media chatter. There were names like DeAndre Hopkins that were out there. I know there were tons of folks that were disappointed when the Hopkins thing didn't happen. The only way that was ever going to work, the order things needed to happen, was Jones needed to be extended early in the offseason. They would have had money to, you know, pay Hopkins less than what the Titans gave him. So I mean, it was theoretically possible. I never looked at it as terribly likely. So we're going in with a fairly young, fairly unproven, you know, Juju Smith-Schuster left, Marquez Valdez-Scantling as the elder statesman. in the room. You know, Kadarius Toney was supposed to be the guy that walked in and took the number 1 spot. It seemed like, you know, he's hurt. There's talk about him coming back the first week. What are your thoughts on the wide receiver room? Do you have optimism? Do you think Patrick makes it work? Do you think we're going to have a breakout star that we just don't know about? Is this going to be kind of a messy offensive season and we're going to have to rely on that top 5 defense? I mean, where are you at?
I think with the young wide receiver room, I feel like my outlook is no one. I think MVS becomes a first-time 1,000-yard receiver because now, for the first time in his career, he's thrust into that number 1 role unofficially, and he showed me something. I didn't like MVS until last postseason, and when I saw the catches that he made in the AFC Championship, I felt like, oh, okay, this is the making of a star. This guy right here, if he can just keep this up consistently, he's going to be a dangerous guy. But my big eye, I'm a huge fan on Justin Ross. I think Justin Ross, if he can stay healthy, Justin Ross is a freak. I like Kadarius Toney. I like him a lot. I question his health. And I'm like, but Kadarius is good. I'm really, really, really curious to see how Sky Moore does. You know, I want to see how he does in that situation. See what leaps and bounds and the way that he grows. But yeah, Rashee Rice from SMU, that guy is definitely a person that not as a rookie, but his upcoming, give him about a year or 2 away, that could be the next star, because he is definitely a freak of nature as a wide receiver.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you. I mean, living in Packer country, you know, I know the vibe that's been around MVS. He's the guy that could break out any season, but I'm with you. I can see him hitting his 1,000 yards this year, and I can see we're looking around, you know, week 15, and we're talking about him, and we're gonna start seeing, you know, national media start bringing up like, I didn't know that guy never had a 1,000-yard season, and I can see that happening where he's the guy that looks like he's always been there. For what it's worth, Trent McDuffie has been spending a lot of time matched up in camp against Sky Moore, and he's just talking about how hard he can tell that guy worked in the offseason. And, you know, for me, if all else fails, you know, the guy that's going to work is going to be somebody who's going to be a team contributor. So I'm looking forward to what Sky Moore has to offer this year. Brian, what are your thoughts?
Already said Sky Moore. I'm looking at Sky Moore. Like after the last season, I remember shouting that name so many times, like just how great he was doing, how great he's moving. So what a position to be in too, with you know, getting receiving passes from Mahomes and everything. I think Sky Moore is just sitting right there. I think he's ready. Like that is who I'm thinking will be the kind of breakout situation here. That's who I'm looking to see what happens. You know, Kadarius Toney, what up? Gosh, so many great plays for that he had too last year. That, I mean, he was introduced to us kind of a little later there, and getting to know him. But then watching did he do the punt return? Wasn't he had this amazing punt return? That was awesome.
The one guy that had footing on the field, you know, Eagles fans will tell you all about that. The one guy that brought the right cleats.
Yeah, he exactly. He brought the right cleats.
So obviously, you know, we got playmakers, we got people who make big moves, big performances on big stages. Kadarius Toney, but Sky Moore, I think Sky Moore and Kadarius, I'm looking forward to see how they play out. But yeah, Sky Moore. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Cool. All right, so we all have some optimism on the wide receiver room. So we're getting into, you know, the thick of camp. We've got our first preseason game coming up this coming Sunday. Reed's not really known for playing starters, you know, early. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of starters on, you know, really either side of the ball. my biggest projection is that there's going to be a good amount of Chiefs fans down in New Orleans, and they are going to sweat because it is hot down there. I went to New Orleans in February, and it was too hot for me. I live in Wisconsin. So, Brian, what are you looking for this preseason?
Well, I was thinking about this. So many things you can pay attention to. What are we like? What popped in my head immediately, because first went to defense, but then it went to backup quarterback. Actually, what I don't even know. I really don't know what to even think about that right now. I want to see who's going to be throwing the ball, who isn't Mahomes. Does anyone have any insight on who that is, Josh? I'm like, do you have any, or anyone have any thoughts on
Blaine Gabbert and Shane Bichelle? Shane Bichelle is the guy who was the third stringer behind Chad Henne, who retired. Blaine Gabbert's been a journeyman. He was a Mizzou guy that came into the league with a lot of fanfare, never really got it with the Jags. He backed up Brady for the Bucks. So I mean, he's a guy who's most likely to take that second role. For me, the quarterback question I think is, does Bichelle stick around, or does he end up looking for a backup opportunity?
I think Bichelle sticks around because Andy Reid carried him last year as a QB3. He allowed Shane to be there. Shane's a Texas guy, a baseball guy who played at the University of Texas, and then he transferred to SMU. But the unique thing is Shane Buechele was Rashee Rice's quarterback for one season in SMU, and he made Rashee Rice a star. And then when he left, Rashee Rice just kept the program going for the next year, and now they're on the same team. So I think Buechele is the guy, and he'll eventually move up to be. He'll eventually move up to be.
That's back.
He'll eventually move up to be backup quarterback. Yes.
Yeah.
After the 99-yard drive Henne did last season, I've started to put more stock in like how much importance that position needs to be, because it seems like there's always a big moment like that every season. A couple of those moments happen every season, or a full game like we saw the playoffs not too long ago. So I'm sorry, Josh. I cut you off there. What are you saying?
Oh no. So I'm looking up contract numbers. So it looks like Gabbert is on a 1 year, $1.3 million contract. It looks like Bichelle's on a 1 year, $1 million contract, $940,000. So to me, the biggest question is, does Gabbert have any interest in trying to be a starter again? And I question that. I can picture it. But I can also picture him. I'm looking at what some of his salary numbers have been. So he was drafted by the Niners, ended up with the Jags because he was traded there. So he was making 12 a year for starter. Or sorry, he was making $3 million a year with 12 in guarantees from his bonuses. But he's been in the $1 to $2 million range since then. And so maybe he's just truly settled in as being a backup. And I think there's worse jobs than Patrick Mahomes' backup. Which
it's definitely an easy road to the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's the best one that you're going to get, and if there's a chance that he's going to be a starter again, I think there's worse things you can do than try and go play for Andy Reid and, pick something up there. Cause it's a quarterback driven league. You watch any show, like I watch First Things First and the Herd with Colin Cowherd fairly often. And they both, Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd will say something that you have 6 quarterbacks that are the top of the food chain, with Mahomes being at the top. There's, another 4 that you think you could picture a world where they make it to a Super Bowl, but there's 20 plus quarterbacks that are never playing in a Super Bowl. And, Gabbert can be one of those guys. Somebody's got to play quarterback for the Texans.
Yes.
We'll see what happens with Stroud.
Yeah, we'll see. But Stroud, I think he'll do okay in Houston. I definitely think that he starts and Mills gets traded to be back up somewhere else, and who knows? They might be in the market for one of our backups. So
Yeah,
Maybe
sure
so.
does.
Yep.
All
That's what I'm
right.
looking for.
Yeah, so we're not expecting to see the full offense in New Orleans, I think is the key
No.
here. But yeah, it's worth a trip if you make it down there. Bourbon Street's fun. Pack lots of sunscreen because it's going to be hot down there. It is hot
Oh
and
yeah.
easy. Yeah,
Mhm.
hot and muggy. That's really
Yes.
about all there is. But yeah, catch some jazz. The Mahogany Room is my favorite spot there, right next to
Oh
the
yeah. Love that
love
place.
that place. Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's get into our final take segment. So Dwayne, did you bring a final non-Chiefs related topic?
A non-Chiefs related topic.
Yeah.
Yes. A non-Chiefs related topic is uh, I got this thing that I'm working on down here in Texas. I'm trying to, because I went to the same college that Otis Taylor went to, and that's Prairie View A&M University. That's one of my alma maters, and I feel like I'm trying to gather that particular. I'm sorry, I'd had a call come in. That particular that particular hold on, cancel. Yeah, that particular gosh, these little buttons are going crazy. That particular fan base of Prairie View A&M and the particular fan base of the Kansas City. And there's lots of Kansas City chapters. There's Houston chapters and there's Dallas chapters. I've been in contact with the Chiefs or Die people.
Yep.
Fidel Blocker is a real good guy, but their kingdom places all over the United States. And a lot of people feel the sentiment that Otis Taylor is long overdue. And what a shame for Otis to have passed
Yep.
and not seen that honor. So I'm real passionate of trying to get him finally in the Hall of Fame. I met Mr. Taylor years ago at Arrowhead at one of the home games. Very nice guy, very, very laid back individual. And I felt what he gave to the game. Come on, let's get him in there. Let's try to get these old heads in here.
Yep. No, there's definitely a period of time where he was the most lethal receiver on the planet, and time and place, history like that makes a difference. So, yep, agree that he is overdue for getting in, and I think he's actually on this poster here as well. There we go. So, yeah, Brian, what do you got?
KU football, University of Kansas Jayhawks. I'm hoping to see. My mindset going into KU football is always improvement. Just show me some improvement. After all these years, I just want to see improvement. And now we got to our first bowl game in however long last season, and then I would just build on top of that. And I want to see more improvement. And it's fun to get excited again about my team there. Looking forward to hey, you know what? Some big plays can happen if they go up against if you do go up against an OU. No, don't expect the things to go the way we hope they go. But you see some big plays, play them tough. I like to see some tough play. Get excited for a while. And what I'm looking forward to is our quarterback Jalen Daniels. Though I had to check in. I don't know how he was. If he might have gotten hurt or he might be doing a little bit of during the training camp. If he's healthy, and it'd be fun to see him do his thing, because he was really on track really well last season to do some very special things. But the backup quarterback, Jason Bean, came up, and this guy, Jason Bean, I don't know if you know him, but he is really fast. Really, really fast.
I've heard of Jason Bean. He's a speedster.
He is, and he was holding up they gave him a trophy. You know how they give trophies and awards out at these camps and everything to keep the kiddos motivated, and came though this is what you're special about. And they showed up. His award was the 23.5-mile-per-hour award, because they got him clocked going that fast. And I'm like, oh, I'm extra. Though he can throw the ball, he's a very special quarterback and a good talent at quarterback. I want to see him. I wonder if they're going to put him in certain positions where he can use that speed and get some different kind of offensive production using those legs and that special talent of speed he has. So I'm looking forward to see what they come up with there. So go KU. Looking forward to see what Jalen Daniels done, and Jason Bean especially. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking for.
All right, my final take. This is something I know Brian was looking at as well, so I want to thank him publicly here for letting me take this one. Okay, so the Baltimore Orioles, I watch a good amount of baseball. The Baltimore Orioles have been probably the story of this year. They're an exciting young team. Adley Rutschman, their catcher, who was called up late last year, is the total real deal. He gives me all the same vibes of when Buster Posey was the height of his powers for the Giants, and Salvador Perez early during all of those World Series runs. Rutschman has that same type of deal. People that are Orioles fans lifelong, I mean, he's their guy. So that's exciting stuff. I recently saw the Orioles play. I was down in Tampa on an annual baseball trip with friends. We watched the Orioles play the Rays, and this was on July 22nd. And that is, of the 15 games that I've watched with these guys over 13 years, that's hands down the best baseball game we watched, because it was the two teams leading the AL East, which is crazy that it's the Orioles and Rays when the Yankees and Red Sox still play there. But so didn't really think much of anything other than a competitive series. But here recently, that next day, that Sunday, so what would have been the final game of that series, the sixth game that the Orioles and Rays played that year, a guy named Kevin Brown, who's on the TV squad for the Orioles, got on and was doing his pregame commentary, and he started pointing out that the Rays have had the Orioles numbers until recently. And so he threw some stats out that the Orioles were 0-15-1, as in 0 series wins, 15 series losses, and 1 tie over the past 16 series, including that one. And the Orioles won the first 2 games, so the third was just to see if they swept or not. He also pointed out the last time that the Orioles had beat the Rays in a series prior to that was June of 2017, and that so far for the season, the Orioles were 3-2, and those 3 wins equaled the entire win total from the 2020 to 2022 3-season period of time. So the Orioles are 3-18 against the Rays. Those all seem like some pretty, vanilla type of stats that just said there was one team that was good for a while and another team that wasn't. Pretty standard stuff.
Pretty dominant.
Okay. Yeah. So this isn't an interesting story, and I'm pretty much wasting everybody's time until you throw this last fact in here. The Orioles ownership got really, really upset about him pointing out how bad the Orioles were against the Rays, and they suspended the dude. So since July 23rd, he's been suspended for talking about stats that were just 100% black and white fact in a stats-driven game. I mean, baseball is a stats-driven game.
Very much so.
Yeah, and so I mean, the Rays are probably one of, if not the best run organization in all of sports. They don't spend any money. Baseball is driven by spending money and having a front office that scouts well. The Orioles don't have money, so they just scout well. Or the Rays don't have money, so they scout well. The Orioles are in year 1 of getting out of their Tankapalooza. The last time the Orioles made the playoffs was 2016. They've finished 4th twice in the 6th season since then in the AL East, and they finished 5th the other. They have a 386 win percentage over the past 6 seasons. I don't understand what we're doing here. How are you possibly getting mad at this guy for just simply saying
he's reporting the facts?
The Rays have been good, the Orioles haven't. It's kind of nice to see him play well again. So yeah,
I want to point out, we wouldn't be in this situation. We were reporting bad facts, so we didn't know those facts happened in the first place.
Well, exactly. And Brian and I were talking about this before we got started, and we're watching the clip that got this guy suspended, and we're both sitting here going like, all right, what did he say? What did he do? Whose mom did he talk about? What did he say bad about the Barbie movie? All of these things. It's like, what lightning rod did you strike? And it's like, you didn't do any. You didn't do anything. You just said the Orioles haven't beaten the Rays in a long time.
You just reported the news.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So free Kevin Brown, put him back on TV. From what it looks like, the guy's good. And then just one more thing, 40 on the ground for the women's national team. I'm with Megan Rapinoe. Stuff happens. You don't win every single year. And it sucked to see after her long career that a missed penalty is the last thing that happens. But, anytime somebody wants to throw that picture up, put up a picture of her holding the World Cup trophy twice. So,
yeah.
2 cents on that. But in any event, take care, Chiefs Kingdom. Until next time.
All right.
Chiefs.
Chiefs.